Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, Project Big Screen. We could not be more excited to talk to you guys about The Rip, movie we were fortunate enough to see. We saw it a couple days ago. Man, dude, there's something about just a classic cop thriller that I just feel like we miss, and we just like you don't get them a lot anymore.
Yeah,
it rips. It does rip.
Am I the first to say that?
They've come up with something
that's
for the
going
poster.
on the one sheet. Yeah,
that's what we like. But like Joe, especially with Joe Carnahan, we've always loved Joe's. Like his first movie was called Narc. Jason Patric, Ray Liotta, terrific movie. And this is, in keeping kind of with the traditional spirit of that. Like you say, it has a little bit of a throwback feel. Heat's a big favorite of ours. That's obviously a big, expansive, epic kind of thing. But that classic crime movie or cop robber movie with really grounded characters is just one of my favorite genres.
It does something, I think, stylistically, which within the first 20 minutes I noted as being like quintessential for any good cop movie, which is you have over-the-shoulder gun holster. You need that for a good cop movie. And you have cool cars. And I was just curious how
That's all credit to Joe.
Yeah, that's all Joe, that part of the style.
You guys still have these? I love it, but I thought this was like a dragnet.
This is for the dorks.
Felt like Crockett and Tubbs, like from way back, the old Miami Vice.
I embraced it.
Yeah.
There are a lot of twists and turns in this movie, by the way, and you guys are both obviously very accomplished screenwriters. So when you get these screenplays, do you look at them from like an analytical or critical point of view, or do you ever want to tweak anything or look at anything?
Sure, yeah. I mean, the script was great when it came in, and we've known Joe for 20-something years. Ben, I mean, how many years ago
did you do? 2004 or something.
Yeah,
You want to add to things. You want to find something that inspires you to. I'm a big believer in that. I mean, there may be directors out there who say, "Hey, this is how it's written. Please do this." I'd certainly be willing to do it. I feel like I work best where you ask the actors to kind of bring something, you do research, you glean something from that, and you got to be willing to hear, not throw that out. But I think it works well that way. And we had a great cast in this movie, a great ensemble, and I think all of them really made it individual and specific. But I mean, ideally, you read it and you feel like, this doesn't need much. It's terrific.
Yeah, you guys, speaking of the cast, you guys yourself, Catalina, Steve, and also Tiana are probably all going to be Oscar nominees. And when I'm looking through that cast list, I'm like, is this kind of an Oscar bait movie a little bit? You're putting together an ensemble of all these like award-heavy, accoladed actors all into this one movie.
They weren't award-heavy when they put them together. I mean, they're all very accomplished and great, and that's why they got the
kind of what
rights.
we're doing. I mean, I think that's one of the nice things about it is like getting good actors to do good movies. That like this idea of the bifurcation of like, well, here's this lane of award, take your medicine movies or something, versus like I don't see it that way. I think. Great performers. They've all done great work. They've all, like you say, been had their nominations and awards and stuff. But like that's what makes it fun, even in a more, I guess, like commercial genre. Like, which just means, there's real tension and stakes and kind of driving towards a sort of climax. Those are movies that it's an art form. You can either do it well or do it poorly, and you're trying to do as well as you can. And I think the biggest contributor to whether a movie works or not, maybe not coincidentally, is good actors.
Yeah, every genre. Like I remember, like those Jason Bourne movies. We always were. It was like Chris Cooper, Brian Cox, Joan Allen, David Strathair, and Tommy Lee Jones. Like we were going after like the very best people that we could to fill them out, and it wasn't in order to win awards. It was just to make the movie as good as it could be.
Now, I'd also read that you all get certain bonuses. The deal that you all struck is that you guys get certain bonuses if this movie hits like landmarks within a certain time frame. How did you guys get that deal set up?
Well, that's an extension of like there were these strikes, right? Yes, and there was a lot of discussion about the way residuals used to work for actors, and streaming was new, and they had this kind of buyout model, sort of one size fits all. And as the business sort of shifts and evolves, and as it has throughout its history. Obviously, the strikes are an example of some of the tensions that arise around, are we being paid fairly or not? So during that time, we had been involved kind of informally at trying to put together a sort of residual schedule for streaming movies. And that wasn't ultimately what was finally adopted, but the experience of doing that was illustrative. And what we've always believed in, and what we did, for example, with Air and all of our movies, we've done crew bonus. We've tried to build incentive systems for casting crew that have to do with aligning everybody and saying, look, we've got this goals. If we finish early or under budget, like, great, you should also benefit from that. And we want to find a way to go, like, if the movie works, you should benefit from that. And it's not just the actors, like, it's not us all, like, it's the actors, and there's 1,200 people on the bonus schedule. who are all in the crew. Now, they didn't take any cuts. They didn't reduce at all. What we're trying to do is bring that group of people who are just as important to the movie as everyone else. It's not a cliche. Really, in my experience, is true. As a director, you want to really align everybody and give them a connection to the result of the movie. And is the movie going to be good? Rather than just divorcing, like, well, I get my check, it doesn't matter, I don't really care. Most people aren't like that. Most good crew members, they're kind of doing it anyway, even though they don't benefit from it. But to codify that and build a structure out where you get what your rate, but then if the movie is successful, like by a certain number of hours watched in the first 90 days, there's a meaningful bonus payment. It's like a fraction of your salary. And then again, another level, another hit, and another hit. We wanted to unify and align everybody, cast, crew, every single person on the movie. And the cast, to their credit, did all take, it was a way of doing back-end payments that you typically did for theatrical movies where you knew, okay, if the movie makes $100 million, well, you're going to get an extra X amount of money. That doesn't exist in streaming because historically, initially they weren't willing to share some of the information, and then it was kind of like, well, you get a little extra up front anyway. And now, because streaming's become the norm, there's a less willingness to pay, like I think what they view as a sort of a pioneer tax. Like, hey, we had to pay extra to break into this business. Now we're employing everybody, and we can't bear this extra cost. Like these companies, a lot of them borrowed a lot of money to do a lot of production to lose money in the short term to accrue subscribers. So the economy sort of has to shift. This is our effort to try to establish a model that might work in the future going forward.
That other people can use, and the idea being like, if these people all got together, in this case like 1,200 people got together and made a movie that brings real value to you, and we can measure that based on how many people are watching and what that means for your platform, then all of them should share in that success, right? And that's new. The below the line side of it, which is more the blue collar side of our business, was we were dead set on including them in this model, and in success, like what we hope would happen is that other people in the business will adopt it.
And I would say too that especially as a short-time former grip, it makes me more invested to see that your guys' movie succeeds. I'm like more like I want to make sure that hey, maybe if I'm not watching at this moment, I'm gonna keep it running because I know people are making money off this that are working on the blue collar side of it. So it makes me more invested in your guys'
Every
success.
standby painter, greens person, props, wardrobe, it's 1,200 people, right? So you've been on sets, scripts, electricians, cameramen. There's a lot of people that are really important that you need to make a film at all, and you absolutely need their dedication, their work to make it work really well. And it's also a way of instituting something that hopefully can serve as a means to kind of flex with, because it's a harder proposition to get people to make a movie that they think is less likely to succeed. So and the only gauge people have about that is what's succeeded before. As a result of that, you tend to see movies that are repetitive in one way or another because people feel more comfortable investing in something because the last version of it made money. But actually, I think what creates value and what makes cinema more interesting is people who innovate, who change, who take risks. So the risk and the investment things are in opposition to one another. This might serve, I hope, as a template by which you can say, we know you think this is risky. We're willing to make it a safer investment for you to get in on, but we don't just want to get ripped off. If you're then successful, well, then we should do better than we otherwise would. And I hope that that would allow then more interesting films to get made.
How have you guys liked it doing Artist Expertise so far? Because that's obviously much less sexy version of Hollywood, and you guys were, I would say, when you burst in, obviously you're doing all writing, acting, directing, all this stuff, and this is obviously a way less sexy version of it, but I think more important, especially for you guys helping your fellow actors, crew, all these people.
Look, it's interesting. It's very satisfying. It's not philanthropic or altruistic. It's respectful of what people do and how they contribute, and focused on a business that's dedicated to the idea that you've got to make movies that people want to see and that are good. And how do you do that? And we're trying to do we have this feature film writers room where we have writers working in collaboration with one another, like television writers rooms where they're all working on just different episodes of the same show, but. Where you have Eric Roth, who's a massive, successful, sort of emeritus, great film screenwriter, and we participate in this as well. Help the development and the writing of the scripts in terms of giving feedback, and mostly the valuable part is like peer feedback. these writers kind of go in and write basically for scale, but they know that they'll get paid a lot more if the movie actually gets made, and even more if it's successful. It's another way we're trying to, get around the fact that that it's hard to get in the business because you have to spend a lot of money on scripts, and that a lot of them don't get made, and it's just inefficient. And it's a way of working with writers whose goal is really to get their movies made and to do something interesting, and who I think helping writers work collaboratively, given how collaborative a medium it is. Oftentimes writers are kind of separated, and they don't get the exposure of the actors or the directors, and that's been really satisfying and really fun. So it's interesting. Yeah, it's a lot of work, and there's some of the work that's not what I dreamed of doing, but it's really interesting and engaging. And also, I get to work in an office, be around my kids, which is cool.
There we go. Speaking of crazy scripts and big swings, recently your video from the Criterion Closet went viral again. Speaking about the Armageddon Criterion collection.
People love that, man.
Are there any other movies in your filmography where you'd love to just go through and just kind of pick it apart and just have fun with it?
A lot of them. And the thing about Armageddon is I had a great time with it.
Oh my God.
It was successful. I'm proud of it. It's fun. Michael has a very keen sense of
iconic.
And by the way, they're great. Amazing actors in that movie that I loved working with, like Billy Bob.
That was an amazing
Owen,
cast.
So good.
Shimmy.
To your point earlier, my God, look at the cast. That is like a murderer's
exactly.
row in that movie. There's so many good actors.
And I remember Billy, I guess the Oscars happened after the movie, but before Armageddon came out, I saw him at the premiere, and Billy won the Oscar for Sling Blade.
Yeah.
And so we went after that, and he was like, "Hey, I saw you got that, you won that Oscar, didn't you?" I was like, "Yeah, so what, they give you half an Oscar?" Because you only wrote half the picture, right? That's what no offense.
You got the teeth down perfectly.
Oh my God.
He doesn't do that a lot.
He's one of the funniest guys.
one of the funniest people.
I'll give you half an Oscar for that. That's nice. That's good. That's like a kid's Oscar, right? You get a piece out of it. Participation Oscar. Is that what you got? It was a great bunch of guys. A lot of fun. And look, that Criterion thing. That was because I was too stupid and young to know that people are going to listen to this. I'm like,
Yo, we listened multiple times.
I just told the truth. I was like, this seems crazy. Why are we training oil drillers to be astronauts? It would be a lot easier to teach astronauts to be oil drillers. But I think the audience now, because of the internet and shows like this that are focused on movies, are just much more aware of that kind of stuff. And that's the kind of talk about movies that people do when they watch them.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of, so I think the world's much more open and interesting to that kind of stuff. The problem is if you had a movie and you're trying to promote it, you can't say it's dog shit.
You can't be like Mystery Science 3D or 3000 on it.
And that's a painful thing to go through, and it's really nice when you're proud of the movie. But somebody would have a great show bringing people on, talk about the worst movie you've made.
It's actually a good idea.
Every studio's avoid that show.
Please don't do this. You're contractually banned.
Yeah.
I went on the Tonight Show. I've always been. I remember when I did Gigli, and I got it was the worst scathing review. I feel like they didn't even see it. It was just a chance to wail on a movie, But they made a sport of it. It was fun. What critics are great at, right? It's the art of. And that's kind of become most of film criticism now. It's just pithy.
They're writing for each other at a certain point. They're they have their list in their head of people they sweat, and they're like, "Ooh, what's he going to say about this?"
But I read all the bad reviews on the Tonight Show. Still, my favorite things I've ever done, because at a certain point, it is what it is. You're going to bullshit people and be like, "No, I don't feel that. I don't listen to those things." You're like, "Of course you do." You know.
Sandra Bullock won the Oscar and the Razzie in the same year.
Yeah, that's right.
And she fucking went
to the Razzies.
both. It was such a badass move, to go win an Oscar and then go pick up your Razzie.
Legendary.
Yeah.
Speaking of critics, one thing that we found funny on the internet so far with the Odyssey is, I was curious if you have anything to say to the absolute nerds that have such a stick up their butt about the armor in the Odyssey. A fantasy, a fiction, not a real thing. This is not a historical event, something that did not happen. And they look at the armor and they say, that's not era accurate.
Yes, I
don't doubt that. I think Chris was pretty fastidious about.
I think technically, pictures have come out of what the armor really technically would look like.
It looks like the barrel they would wear when you run out of money in the Great Depression. That's what it looks like.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's make a movie naked in wooden barrels.
Yeah, exactly.
I think people would probably not love the movie, if we didn't take some creative license and artistic license with it.
It's with Air, we dramatize stuff. You know what I mean? It's it's not a documentary. Because people also punish you if your movie's boring and lame.
Yeah.
So it's like if that's what you would prefer. But I mean, certainly, I think you're barking up the wrong tree with a filmmaker like Chris Nolan, where you're going to criticize the movie. Okay, I'm going to take the other side. You know, go ahead.
That's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, he actually had an interesting kind of thing make the rounds where he was talking about how one movie, whenever it comes on, he can't turn it off, and it was Talladega Nights. And everybody in the film sphere, like the super nerdy cinephiles, they're like, how is it not XYZ, Citizen Kane, something like that? I'm curious if you guys have something where like maybe there's a movie where if it comes on, you need to finish it no matter what.
Well, there's a few. The more serious, like Goodfellas, I've actually had this experience where I'm changing channels and I see it and I'm like, oh, fuck. I just sit down. I'm like, wherever it is in the movie, I'm going all the way. Midnight Run was always that movie for us.
Oh,
I mean, I remember be that movie where if that's on, I'm going to watch it. And it's, I mean, I think it's, look like.
Or you have a print. You have an actual pristine print.
You have a print of it?
Yes.
I got a print, yeah. In fact, and I get this call from Paul Thomas Anderson. He was like, hey, Ben, what's going on? It's like, oh, hey, Paul. I'm thinking, oh, shit, I'm going to be in one of Paul's movies. All right, great. He's like, listen, can I borrow that Midnight Run?
Like your neighbor.
Yeah, Paul, yeah.
Oh, we horse traded. We were like, we'll come over and watch it at your house.
I mean, you should get a credit then on One Battle. I mean,
Yeah, because if you lifted
the Midnight
anything,
Run
I
influences.
feel I should, but strangely, I've been denied. Yeah.
Speaking of Paul and Tiana, also Golden Globes last night.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw it closed out with you had George Clooney, Don Cheadle on stage, Julia Roberts. Do we have any updates on Ocean's 14 and expand the cast? Maybe get Damon
maybe we can
there.
get somebody else.
We'd take them for sure.
Uphill battle. I don't know. I've been auditioning for that movie. They keep on making new ones, and I keep on not being
Not
in
getting it.
I start taking it
15
personally
of
at
them
some
now.
point. Ocean's 26. I mean, how many actors are left?
Yeah, no, there's no, if we can get a script, I mean, I think everybody's inclined to do it. Like, that's a group of people that loves each other, loves to work together. But, if we come back, it's got to be worth it. The last thing you want to do is lay an egg.
Yeah.
And try to go do that.
Yeah.
Of course. We want to give you some rapid fire questions. The first one being, if you could rip one movie from the other person's filmography and replace it with one of your own, what would you pick and why?
Well, just let me understand the question. Is this because we want to have been in that movie, or we want
You
to
take that movie and you are now in that movie, and they are in the movie that you had. So,
Oh, Jesus. Well,
for example, you give him The Accountant, and you take away The Bourne or something like that. It could be
Right.
anything.
Right.
So this is a trade that's supposed to be good for me, or
It could be good for you, or it could be bad. It could be whatever you want. You could be like, hey, maybe Matt would have been great in this. Maybe Ben would have been great in this. I don't know.
Oh, all right.
You could play it any way you want.
I mean, I love The Town and Argo. But
People think you were in The Town. Sometimes we'll talk to our coworkers, and they're like, Matt Damon was in The Town,
we're
right?
so strongly associated with each other that happens sometimes. And there was the Renner part, so people just kind of go like,
I remember writing that movie, The Town, and consciously thinking, I needed like some kind of a line that Matt would write here. Like it's like that the line that the Celtics ended up using about like whose car are we going to take.
Yeah.
I remember that night being like, this scene's not working well enough. How would Matt do? And I thought, oh, Matt would write a line like this, and that was the line. So maybe it's honorary.
I'll take credit for that, man. Jesus, that's a great line. The Town and Argo. I loved Gone Baby Gone as well.
Of course.
Listen, Matt's made so many great movies. I think I would have loved to have been. The Martian's a spectacular movie.
so good.
Fucking really, really interesting, good performance movie. But Matt did a movie called The Good Shepherd that wasn't one of the most successful. So it's a movie I love and I think is really incredible and
Fascinating story too. The real all that stuff.
It's incredible.
Insane.
Yeah, the research and Robert De Niro directed it, and the amount of reading, the amount of research that went into that. Eric Roth, actually, who we were talking about earlier, wrote the script. That was a beautiful.
And there's some I just think I look at Sweetwater.
Stillwater.
Yeah.
And I just think that was one of those where I saw the movie, and it was like I couldn't reconcile the performance with the guy I knew was so profoundly different and convincing a character. It was like that was one of those things where I really thought, wow, that's fucking amazing, that performance. It's one of the most impressive things I've seen. That was one where I was like, I wouldn't have wanted to do that. That was really hard. And I thought done very well.
Thanks, man. I think he's on a roll right now. Since about 2018, 19, the performances have been, he was always great, and we've always been each other's fucking serious fans, but there was just a level up that happened, and I don't know if that's just experience or age or enough life in the kind of reservoir that is accessible to you. But the way back, what he did in The Last Duel, which people gave him shit about the hair
I
color,
love that.
but
I
it was a
love that.
great
So
fucking
That was
performance.
really. I think a lot of us is having fun, like realize not needing. Directing became a real focus, and so then I started acting in things just if I wanted to, and not worrying about like the.
Just like when Sidney Pollack said to Terry Kinney years ago, he was like, "You know why I'm a great actor? Because I don't give a shit."
You stop sweating all the stuff about, well, I'm gonna come on, was this or my career, and I just thought, I don't care. I just want to do something that's fun and I think is interesting, and I'm gonna worry about, is this character likable enough? Like, just want to play the truth of it and explore this stuff, and I had a great time. And I've had lucky, I loved working with George Clooney as a director. Gavin did a great job on the way back. Ridley was incredibly instructive. It's something that I realized Matt has really understood from the very beginning, and it took me longer to really understand at a basic level, maybe for me to start doing the job. But Matt always understood keenly that it comes down to the director. As an actor, even more than the role itself. Like, if you're working with a great director, and I don't think there are many actors living with a better resume of directors with whom they've worked than Matt, which is a testament to his taste and this follow through on this philosophy. And I now.
But to be fair, though, like when we were kids, we'd go to the movies every weekend, and with me and him, and then a group of us, and we'd always come out into the parking lot afterwards, and that movie sucked, and then somebody would say, and he would always be the one. From the time we were 15 years old, he was like, yeah, but you know what would have made it great? And he would script doctor the movie in the parking lot, and he was always, and everyone, oh fuck, why didn't they do that? You know, and so he's always had that kind of optimism about going into things. So there were things that he did that I'd go early on in our career. I'd go, whoa, dude, why are you doing this? And he'd go, yeah, because it's going to make it great. And he would pitch it to me, and I'd go, yeah, that is a great movie. But like, if you're not with a great director who recognizes the great idea, you end up in their movie. Mm-hmm. And so he ended up for a period there in some movies where he knew how to fix them, but he wasn't allowed to. And then so the directing career has helped him
take the reins and
be able to be the arbiter of taste.
Yeah, there you go. Do it himself. So I was about to ask you about your favorite movies of each other, but I think we just ran through the gamut there. So we'll move on to the next one. You brought up you'd been auditioning. You joked saying auditioning for the Oceans franchise, but is there a role that either of you, I guess both of you, have auditioned for, really wanted, but actually didn't get?
Oh, well, very famously, we auditioned for Dead Poets Society.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
And did not get it. And our summer job that year was working in a movie theater in our hometown that had one screen and only played Dead Poets Society. Oh. So we literally, for 4 showings a day, 3 or 4 showings a day. It was never not completely at capacity. We tore the tickets, we sold the popcorn and the sodas, and the Junior Mints and Milk Duds.
And told people to enjoy the show.
We told people to enjoy the show, and then had to open the doors. They watched them come out crying, laughing, hugging each other, literally by the hundreds, and then we'd go in and sweep the theater up and get ready for the next group that was coming in. And it was instructive.
One of my kids a couple of years ago, he came into there and they were crying watching Dead Poets.
Oh,
it's like,
I've shown my kids. I mean, it's wonderful, and
Peter
Weir,
in the movie too.
It's not like you could be like,
by the way, the right actors got the part. You know what I mean? Like those, everyone was great, but it was a good lesson in like what's at stake in this career, like because there's not really an in between. You're either in the movie or you're sweeping up.
Great character building moment. And now you guys get to tell everyone to not vote for Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, exactly.
We have no animosity. We don't hold a grudge.
You had the movie with Brendan Fraser though. That was also a school one.
School Ties.
That's right.
That was a few years.
So that was the revenge where it's like, well,
I don't know.
We're gonna beat you, Dead Poets. We're gonna beat you, Dead Poets Society, and it's like, oh shit, not quite. So has there been? You guys are reuniting a bit more on screen lately. Has there been any projects? I would say, let's say before Last Duel, where you guys are like, maybe you were circling, maybe you were gonna reunite on this, but then you just couldn't make the scheduling work or anything like that?
I don't think so. Was there anything before that?
No, really. So we had a production company together. It was much smaller, sort of typical thing, but not really. We were kind of doing our respective things. I think one of it's like when we first sort of broke into the business, I think we were mindful of like, don't get so typecast as a team or a duo or individuate, make your own way, etc. And then just got old enough to go, oh, fuck that. You know, nobody cares. It's like, let's do things that we love with people we love, and that sort of thing.
I think getting old enough to realize that nobody cares.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I think it's a pretty solipsistic business and lifestyle, and to be fair, like, for us, it was a very abrupt shift to becoming famous, and like literally felt like an overnight thing. And suddenly you're coming to events, like junkets like this. There are people outside the hotel, for autographs, clamoring. You've got a few people around you.
Quick things about yourself.
It feels like the world actually revolves around you, and it's not until you get some distance that you realize it really doesn't, and nobody really cares that much. I mean, it's been exacerbated by social media. I can imagine the young actors now must feel like, oh my God.
Every facet of your life that you have to make performative.
But the truth is, nobody actually really cares. And that's kind of where we came. And also, like, we don't care. Like, we'd rather make
Turns
movies
out
together.
your own experience of your life is more important than whatever else.
You're saying it's not fun when people are taking pictures of you, like with your Dunkin' Donuts at your front door or something like that?
Well, he's always gotten that worse than me. I never, we lived down the street from each other in LA for 8 years, and also because he was married to Jen Garner at the time, and she's galactically famous, and so there were always cars kind of sitting out in front of his driveway waiting for one of them to come out, and we lived just down the block, and like I just came and went.
No problem.
I was like, I don't see what's so bad about this neighborhood. So I think some of that's the luck of the draw. Yeah. But it's also some of it is like there is, some of it. It's not cultivated necessarily. Some of it is just the luck of the draw.
No, yeah, it's certainly not something that I desired. Although that's a hard thing to convince people of, because the appearance is, you're thrusting yourself out there because I'm seeing you so much. Therefore, you must be complicit in that. It's very counterintuitive to think like, because you become aware, like, this is not good for me. It's not. I don't like it. There's no upside to this. Someone else is making the money that must be generated from these pictures or articles or links. I got to a point where I was perfectly okay with, because I had to go look. I didn't know what the future would hold for me, but I knew as an actor, I knew Sean Penn and Madonna. I knew that happened, and I wanted to do it, and I didn't think that would happen for me in that way, but it did, and it can't take a lot of issue with that. What I do take issue with strongly is like when it impinges on my time with my children, and that I consider as private and meaningful, and it impacts them, and that I think is just like unnecessary. I don't think people should do it, and I wish they would.
Yeah, and before we had kids, the magazine culture in the early 2000s was really powerful, and that really infringed on your career. And I remember him calling me. I was in Prague. I remember working on a movie, and you called me, and this was right after Gigli, and Ben goes, I am in the worst place you can be. He goes, I sell magazines and not movie tickets. Oh. And that is because you're going to be on the cover of Us Weekly next week, no matter what. And everybody does, everyone's like, I'm sick. I don't want to see this guy. Yeah. Right. And he doesn't want to be there. And it's just like, but this magazine is just.
And in order to sell the magazine, and look, now we've seen this phenomenon proliferate across the internet and everything throughout the culture, which is to say that like a negative tweet is more likely to be retweeted. Of
course.
Any story that can, so that the seeking to drum up not just controversy, but some way, it's like why the article about snubs is more interesting than the article about who is awarded something, right? Like there is something about us as human beings that's attracted to, I don't know what it is.
Get angry online.
Hating.
Yeah, exactly. And it seems like perfectly innocuous and normal until you're the subject of it, and then, it feels very unfair. But I also think, just forget about right, wrong, fair, whatever, just as an actor, your job is to have people believe that you're this person, right? You want to suspend people's disbelief. It's like, and I think really bad for people to just constantly be reinforced this image of like, he's not that person. You know this person. He's somebody else. And this is who he really is. It just makes your job harder as an actor. It's sort of like somebody following a magician around and going like, look, see, there's 2 rabbits. You know what I mean? There's a string. That guy's in the audience. He's a plant.
The worst human alive, yeah.
Yeah, and it's an illusion. We're trying to create an illusion. That makes it much more difficult, which is why I think the phenomenon of social media makes it harder for young actors who are coming up because the audience is learning so much about you and your personal life, and you've just got to overcome that or deftly use an element or two of that in the performance. But there are people who can do it. Hats off to them.
So again, The Rip, January 16th. We had a great time with it. There's something about those cop action thrillers that we just love. And again, every time I watch one of these movies, I'm like, I really want that holster. I don't have a gun. I don't have a gun.
Yeah.
There's just something about that I love.
The 48 Hours, the Nick Nolte.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
I think Bullet, Steve McQueen. That's the one that always comes to mind. That in the car, which you have the sick car specifically. The
That's a
Dodge
great
Charger.
car.
That is a nice one.
Yeah.
One last thing before we go. I did tell my in-laws who are Chinese that I was coming to interview you guys, and they wanted me to give you something specifically. It's a very special token of appreciation because they love The Great Wall.
Really?
No, they don't. I'm sorry. I had to get one.
I was
one
so
thing.
excited to meet somebody who liked that movie.
I had to get one thing in. I'm sorry.
I met somebody who loved
I was going to take it home and show my daughter.
They're strictly Shaw Brothers family. They do not watch anything outside of that.
That makes sense. My favorite story about that movie is that my daughter calls it The Wall.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Isabel, it's not called The Wall, it's called The Great Wall. And she goes, Dad, there's nothing great.
It's so bad.
I was going to take this and be
Hey,
like,
don't show her the interview and just be like, look what I got out of this.
Hope she doesn't listen to this thing.
But thank you guys so much for talking to us.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate
Alrighty.
it. Thank you.